Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and tonight I'm coming at you, and we're going to do a Scream ranking, but it's not going to be, split up. There are a few things in the franchise that you can really rank, that a lot of people rank. I didn't feel like doing 3 separate videos on it because I feel like it would be a little monotonous, so I thought, let's combine them. Let's do a video with 3 separate rankings. Today we are going to rank the Scream opening scenes, the movies as a whole, and the killer reveals. So, strap in. Let's do this thing. It's going to be a Scream, baby. Alright, so first and foremost, I want to say if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. I do a lot of horror content. Halloween is my thing, but all things horror here at the Lost River Drive-In. Check me out on Patreon if you haven't already. I'm starting a new series on Patreon that is going to be called What I Watched This Week. And it's basically going to be patron-exclusive uploads every week of recommendations and, keeping you up to date with what I'm watching and what I think of these things. Thought that would be cool. It's $1 a month. It helps support the channel, so check it out if you haven't already. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the openings. We're going to rank these openings before we get into anything else. And, not much needs to be said. Least favorite opening of the Scream franchise, coming in at number 5, is Scream 4. Now, that's not to say that I hate Scream 4's opening, because I don't. There are some aspects of it that are cool, the movie within a movie type thing. The problem is, it's drawn out a little bit too long, and the stakes don't feel high whatsoever. You're confused as to what is real and what isn't as you're watching it. And then at the same time, the stakes just aren't high at all. Ghostface jumps right in with, this is my movie and I'm going to kill you and you're the blonde with the big and all that. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I liked her getting stabbed and falling down the steps and crawling to the garage door before she gets murdered. But that's about all I like about the opening sequence. So, not terrible, but pales in comparison to a lot of the openings in the franchise. Which surprisingly is going to bring, this isn't surprising to me, but maybe surprising to some of you guys. My number 4 opening in the franchise is going to be Scream 2. I hear a lot of praise heaped on this opening sequence. And I do agree, it is pretty solid in parts. However, there's just too much about it that I feel like is, a little hard for me to get behind. First of all, I don't really care for Jada Pinkett Smith in this role. She's kind of annoying. And I know that was the point, but whatever. How did Ghostface know that guy was going to be in that specific stall with his ear in that specific spot? And how did nobody see the real blood this woman was covered in? And there's a lot about it that's a little, it's hard for me to believe that all of that could have fallen in place. But at the same time, I think it's more about the performance, of the actors in it. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of bland to me. It's a cool idea, but it ended up being kind of bland. So I'm going to put Scream 2 at number 4. And then at number 3 is going to be Scream 2022. 5 Cream. Scream 5. This opening's awesome. It really is awesome. It gives Ghostface room to breathe. You get some great lines from Ghostface. You really get back into the feel from the original film with it not being just, bam, I'm Ghostface, I'm going to kill you. Oh my God, there's Ghostface. No, there's nice dialogue here. It builds up. Roger L. Jackson is great. His voice work, especially in this scene. And Jenna Ortega gives a really great performance, but the thing that steals it for me is that shot of Ghostface standing up as she is trying to crawl away, just towering over her, and how epic Ghostface looks in that moment. It really did capture some of the feel of the original opening that we hadn't seen up to this point. So kudos to Scream 5. That comes in at number 3. Surprisingly to some of you is going to be Scream 3 at number 2. And honestly, it's surprising to me, but I freaking love this opening. I have always loved this opening. Whether it's the voice changer, tricking Cotton and knowing oh my God, I have to get home. He's gonna kill my girlfriend. Tricking Cotton's girlfriend into thinking that it's Cotton. So when Cotton does get there, it's like she's coming for him and he's trying, I have no idea what you're talking about. I love everything about it. The stakes seem high. There's suspense there. It is very clever and it's mean, all three of these characters, in a way, are all out to get each other. And in reality, the one common denominator there is Ghostface. So I thought the dynamic was just super cool there. So Scream 3 comes in at number 2. And unsurprisingly to everybody watching, Casey Becker, Scream, 1996. It can't be topped so far in this franchise. It hasn't been topped. It's mean. I mean, it is mean. It is memorable. It is haunting. It is sad. It is gross. It is classic. It's just clever. It's everything. It's everything. That's why it's been spoofed so many times in movies and pop culture. It is one of the greatest horror openings of all time. And so I don't need to say anything more about that. Scream comes in at number 1. And now let's get into killers. We are going to rank the killers from, there's 9 of them. So we're going to go from my least favorite to my favorite. Now, part of this is the reveal. Part of this is just what I think about their motivation, what I think about the character. It's all factored in. Coming in at number 9, my least favorite killer is Charlie. He edges out a person barely. And the reason he edges this person out as my least favorite is because he has no motive. None. There is no motive whatsoever aside from the fact that he loves Jill. He wants to do whatever Jill wants him to do, and he just does it because it's what Jill wants him to do. You know, he's a big horror fan or whatever, but that's not really the point. The point is he just wants to do what Jill wants him to do. So, as a character by himself, he's not bad, but when he comes, around as the killer, it's just kind of like, and you hear his motive, you're like, oh, God. So, Charlie comes in at number 9, and not far ahead of him, just by a hair, is Jill at number 8. I know there are a lot of people that like Jill. I know there are a lot of people that like Emma Roberts. I don't dislike Emma Roberts. I've liked her in plenty of things. American Horror Story comes to mind first. And she wasn't bad in this movie, but my God, I hated her motive. I just hated it. Like, growing up, it was all about Sydney. All I heard was Sydney, Sydney, Sydney. I want fans. I want fame. I get it. It's a play on social media becoming the toxic, monster creator that it has become nowadays. So I totally get that. But the way she comes across in explaining her motive is very whiny, is like a petulant child, like a toddler. I have a 2-year-old. She acts how he acts when he wants something. So, and I just felt like you're not even really close to Sydney. You hardly know each other. Why does it bother you that much? Plus, how much could she really accomplish given her physical stature? Some of the stuff you see in this movie, you're like, I don't know if Jill could really do that. If you like Jill, more power to you. I'm not a big fan. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Amber from Scream 2022. I didn't like her as soon as she showed up on screen. And that was the point. I get it. We're not supposed to like her. She's supposed to come across as like bitchy. They do a good job of that. She wasn't a poor actor, but I mean, she just really pissed me off. She has some great lines once she comes out as the killer, when she's talking about how Dewey died just to piss Gail off. Like, I thought that was really mean-spirited, and I really liked it, actually. But she's a pansy. I mean, she is a pansy. Anytime it looks like Gail and Sydney have the upper hand on her, she's like, oh my God, wait, no, please, please, please. Oh, I'm brainwashed. Oh, no. It's like, no, don't take that cop out. You did what you did. You knew what you were doing. It's not even really about the motive for me. It's just the character, it was just kind of weak, like whatever. Throwaway killer. You're not even the killer that people are going to remember from this movie. So whatever. So that's number 7, Amber. And then number 6 is going to be Mrs. Loomis, Debbie Salt, whatever you want to call her. At first, and when she's the reporter, and then at first when she is revealed to be a killer, you're not really buying into it. I started to buy into it when she got crazy and was, covered in blood and fighting Sydney, and she's acting all maniacal, shades of Billy Loomis, with the, sadistic side to her. So you end up liking her. She isn't bad, but it takes a minute to warm up to her. The reveal itself isn't like, dun dun, oh my God. It's more like, oh, that's a bit underwhelming. So, I don't know. Not much more I can say about Mrs. Loomis. She's fine, good and bad. So, she lands right around in the middle. And then right after Mrs. Loomis is Mickey. And Mickey, I love Timothy Olyphant. I do, as an actor. I think he's a great actor. And he, I love some of the lines he has in this movie. Him and Jamie Kennedy going back and forth, and then him, once he is, revealed as one of the killers, talking about how he's going to blame the movies, and he's got this sadistic side to him, but he definitely seems like a little, like a trying to be a little Stu-like, but he's just not quite Stu. So, I don't know, but he does fine. He does great. He plays his role perfectly. And I think he's great. So Mickey is going to come in at number, where are we at, guys? 5. So coming in at number 4 is going to be Richie from Scream 2022, believe it or not. I actually really liked Richie. Part of it was because I really liked the character. He was funny. He seemed to steal the scenes he was in. His acting was great. And I felt he was very believable as the guy that's totally ignorant to the stab movies and horror tropes and all this, and he just means well. And I don't know, I really, I really liked him. And I remember we're in the third act, and I'm like, I really hope he lives through this movie because I want to see him come back. I hope Ghostface doesn't kill him. And I'm like, oh shit, he's Ghostface. Damn. So I really liked Richie. His motive, by the day, is proving to be right online. You have a lot of these fans coming out and just complaining about the motive of toxic fandom and then going, this is what I would have done with it. Okay, you're proving the movie's point that you didn't like what something that you love so much put into a new installment, so you want to recreate it in a certain way. It's a really interesting take, and it's not something we've seen tackled in the Scream franchise before, and I dug it. I mean, it's supposed to ruffle feathers. It's supposed to piss people off, and by God, it does it. So, I'm going with Richie at number 4. And then number 3, which is probably going to surprise a lot of you guys, is going to be Roman Bridger. I am surprised by it. And this is multi-layered. First of all, Roman being the mastermind behind everything, I thought was cool. I don't think it really takes much away from the first movie because of Roman's reasoning. He didn't kill Maureen or anything like that, but he planted the seed for Billy and Stu to be what they became. But the climax of this movie is fantastic. 1, you don't see it coming with Roman, especially because you're led to believe he's dead. 2, he gives some of the best monologues in the series, in my opinion. And the fight between him and Sidney is badass. I mean, both of them just supreme badasses going blow for blow. I loved it. And it's even touching when he's dying. It's even sad because deep down, this crazy dude wanted one thing. He just wanted one thing. He could never have it. And in the the end of his life, he gets a glimpse of that affection from his long lost sister. So I'm surprised myself that Roman's so high because, we'll get to the ranking of the movies later, but Roman comes in at number 3. And this is no surprise to anybody. Number 2 is Billy, and number 1 is Stu. They go hand in hand. I mean, which is why I'm just going to, say both of them right here, right now. They go hand in hand. The reason Stu is a touch above Billy is that maniacal just way he can steal a scene where he's so funny in such a messed up way to where you're like, should I be laughing at this? That is funny, but man, you're messed up, Stu. Whether it's the slobbering or the you hit me with the phone, dick. I mean, just so much about Stu is perfect. Billy is fantastic as well, which is why he's number 2. But he doesn't quite steal a scene like Matthew Lillard as Stu Macher. So that is the ranking, 9-1 of the killers in the Scream franchise. Now for the coup de grace, the ranking of the Scream films from my least favorite to my favorite. And let me preface by saying, I truly believe there is no film in this franchise that is a bad movie. I mean that. Even my least favorite, I think, is a pretty damn good time. Having said that, coming in at number 5 is going to be Scream 3. Now, there's great aspects about this movie. There's some not so great aspects about this movie. There's clever writing throughout. And there's lazy writing throughout. And part of that was the issue with Kevin Williamson and his involvement, or lack thereof, in this film. There's It gets to a point with the meta-ness where it is a little too on the nose and you're kind of forcing it down our throats at this point. Gets a little campy, but overall, the movie is very fun. It has a great third act. It has a great opening. I think the reason that Scream 3 comes in at number 5 for me is really, it's two things. One, the mid portion of the movie seems very jokey and hokey and not scary, not suspenseful at all. And the biggest is the lack of Sidney Prescott. You don't get a lot of her till we get near the third act of the movie, and she's fantastic in the third act. But it takes a while to get that great Sidney Prescott, Neve Campbell. So yeah, all things considered, I think Scream 3 is a blast. I really, really do. It is super fun, but it comes in at number 5 for me. And coming in at number 4 is going to be, appropriately, Scream 4. Now, this is a movie that I feel like is actually quite a step up in quality from Scream 3. I don't have a lot of complaints when it comes to Scream 4. I really don't. I don't like the cinematography. Some of the comedy is a little much, but it's not prevalent enough to take you out of the movie. So they were struggling with tones there. But everything else, I love the movie. I love the original cast and their performances in this movie. I love the badass that Sidney Prescott is. You know, as soon as she is confronted with Ghostface for the first time in this movie, she runs to Ghostface, not away from Ghostface. You know, this development of her character throughout these movies where she's not afraid anymore. And I love it. There's some really cool kills. There is a great soundtrack, in my opinion, and score. And I really think that, granted, I have issues with the third act and whatnot by motivations and some performances in it. I feel like the new cast that we get is actually pretty good. Charlie isn't bad. Robbie, I actually really like Robbie. I think he's funny as hell. Kirby is fantastic. I mean, everybody loves Kirby. I mean, there's just a lot about this movie that's really good. It's very smart. I thought it was a welcome return. It's a shame that it took so long to get another movie, but yeah, I enjoy Scream 4, so that's going to come in at number 4. And then coming in at number 3 is going to be Scream 2022. Now, this is hard. This is hard because I need to rewatch one of these movies to see, and then watch this again to see if, hey, maybe it's my number 2. But right now I'm going to go with 3. And I don't have a lot to say about this movie that I haven't already said in my spoiler discussion or in my review. I loved the movie. I thought it was incredibly clever, brilliantly directed and acted and scored. There's 2 complaints I had about the movie. One of the killers I saw coming a mile away, which is fine because I feel like with a Scream movie, the most important thing for me is not the who done it, but the why. Figuring out their motive, I think, is sometimes more important in these movies than who did it. And the biggest issue, again, with Scream 3, lack of Sidney Prescott. And I get it because I liked the crew we got introduced to in this movie. I really do. And I cannot wait to see those surviving characters come back in future movies because they were all really good. I really enjoyed them. But I could have used more Neve. So radio silence. Hope you guys are listening to this. You're not. But I digress. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Scream 2. And this is a movie that sometimes I struggle. Is this my favorite? It's been my favorite before. But right now, I'm going to say it's number 2. Scream 2 does everything Scream did right. Well, I mean, that was a weird way to word that. But it does everything that Scream did well. And does it well again. New setting, new characters. You still like all of them. Biggest pitfall of this movie. Killing Randy. Huge mistake. I don't care. I get why it's important to the story. Kind of, I guess. Actually, it's not really that important. Anyway, I get it. But man, I love this movie. I think this movie is damn near flawless. Just like the next one. But, killing Randy, you definitely miss him at points in this movie after he dies. I think it was a mistake. And, again, the reveal at the end not being as impactful or as shocking as the first movie. So that's why Scream 2 is a very close second to Scream, baby. Number 1, Scream, 1996. Reinvigorated the slasher subgenre, saved horror, kickstarted a new wave in the 90s. Wes Craven came back with a vengeance. I mean, like this guy hadn't already created enough magnificent films and franchises that he creates another one. Just true genius, pioneer of the industry. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. It's just fantastic. I mean, I don't have to really say anything about Scream. It's smart. It's funny. It's mean. It's memorable. It's everything you'd want out of a horror film. And then some. That's really it. That's really all I have to say about Scream. I don't really have to say anything else. Scream comes in at number 1. You're not surprised. I'm not surprised. Nobody's surprised. So that's it. That's my ranking of the movies. That's my ranking of the killers. And that's my ranking of the opening scenes. And that is going to do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe down below. Again, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your rankings for all of these aspects of the franchise. Have you seen Scream 5 yet? If not, go see it because I think you're going to love it. So this is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.